Before we dive into this remarkable piece of wartime ingenuity, make sure to subscribe to Backyard Wisdom, because what you're about to learn could completely change the way you think about outdoor survival, signaling, and even historical reenactment. During World War II, soldiers and resistance fighters needed a way to communicate over long distances without being spotted by enemy planes or reconnaissance. Traditional signal fires were far too visible, putting lives at risk. Yet there existed a clever, almost invisible method that allowed messages to be sent using smoke and fire, entirely hidden from above. Understanding this trick isn't just history. It's a lesson in resourcefulness, camouflage, and environmental awareness that can be applied to modern survival skills. Why conventional signal fires were too risky. In wartime Europe, enemy aircraft regularly patrolled the skies, scanning for signs of troop movements, camps, or resistance activity. A standard fire, with its tall flames and thick smoke, could be seen from miles away. For soldiers behind enemy lines or resistance operatives working in forests, this visibility meant almost certain danger. The need was clear. Create a signal visible to those who needed it, but completely undetectable to the enemy. How the silent signal fire trick worked. The genius of the technique lay in controlling smoke density, color, and dispersal. By burning specific combinations of damp vegetation, leaves, and green wood, operatives could produce a thin, low-lying smoke that clung to the ground or followed natural contours. This smoke remained largely invisible from high above, while still being readable from certain vantage points or through telescopic sight. Sometimes a simple pattern of smoke puffs or colour variations communicated messages, much like Morse code, but entirely camouflaged by the environment. What materials made it effective, you might wonder? Well, green wood and fresh leaves were absolutely critical because they produced cooler, denser smoke that didn't rise into the air like a typical fire. Quite fascinating, isn't it? Now, moving on to controlling smoke dispersal. Adding small amounts of wet moss or soil on top of the burning materials was a clever trick to control the smoke's vertical dispersal. Some operatives even went so far as to create small, contained fires in depressions or behind natural barriers. This ensured that flames never rose high enough to reveal their position. Ingenious, really. In some documented cases, color-coded materials were used. Different leaves, grasses, or even natural dyes were employed to encode more complex signals, but always with the key principle of remaining invisible to aerial observers. Quite the strategic approach, don't you think? So, how can this knowledge be applied today? Well, for backyard survivalists or historical reenactors, this technique offers lessons that go way beyond just wartime signaling. You see, understanding how smoke behaves in different environmental conditions is, honestly, critical for controlled fires. Whether that's for warmth, for cooking, or for low-profile communication in survival scenarios. Practicing safe versions of this technique in your own backyard can really teach valuable fire management skills. For example, small ground-hugging fires that use damp organic matter can provide heat without alarming your neighbours or drawing attention if you're out in remote camping scenarios. Even just understanding the principle of smoke camouflage is, quite useful when learning about stealth camping or emergency signalling in wilderness settings. The importance of terrain and wind really can't be overstated. One of the most overlooked aspects of this World War II method was, choosing the right location. Fires had to be placed in depressions, behind ridges or amidst dense vegetation to prevent smoke from rising into open air. Wind direction was another critical factor. A strong wind could disperse smoke, making it useless for signalling and, potentially revealing the operator's position. Conversely, using wind to carry thin smoke signals to allies at lower elevations maximised effectiveness while maintaining stealth. Practicing this concept teaches environmental awareness, which is honestly invaluable for anyone spending time outdoors in survival or historical study contexts. So, let's talk about how operators made sure their messages were understood. Clarity was achieved by combining timing, smoke density, and pattern recognition. Operators often had pre-arranged codes, like 1 puff, 2 puffs, or short bursts of coloured smoke, that would correspond to letters, numbers, or even predefined commands. This clever approach allowed for relatively complex communication without ever producing a large, visible blaze. In practical backyard applications, it really demonstrates the importance of planning, pre-arranged signalling systems, and keen observation. Skills that honestly can be applied to group camping, survival drills, or emergency scenarios where traditional communication just isn't an option. Now, you might wonder why this trick still matters for modern enthusiasts. Well, even decades later, the silent signal fire technique provides valuable lessons in resourcefulness. It reminds us that with a bit of ingenuity, simple materials, sticks, leaves, moss, soil, can be combined intelligently to solve even the most complex problems. For backyard enthusiasts, it's an opportunity to study historical ingenuity while learning practical fire and environmental management skills. By experimenting safely with these principles, one can gain a hands-on understanding of smoke behaviour stealth techniques and historical methods that, honestly, ordinary textbooks rarely capture. Here are some steps to safely experiment with this concept today. First, choose a fireproof, contained area such as a fire pit or a metal tray. Then gather small amounts of damp leaves, green wood and moss. Light them in small batches to observe the smoke's behaviour and, pay attention to how wind, terrain and moisture affect visibility. Be sure to avoid large flames and never experiment near dry grass or forests to prevent any accidents. Take notes on the density and dispersal of the smoke and practice pattern recognition by using coloured or different textured organic matter. These exercises really can turn a historical curiosity into practical survival knowledge, enhancing both your outdoor skills and your understanding of history. The silent signal fire is more than just a historical footnote. It's a testament to human ingenuity under pressure, a lesson in environmental awareness, and honestly, a practical skill that modern backyard enthusiasts can explore safely. If you want to continue uncovering lost techniques that combine history with survival, do subscribe to Backyard Wisdom, try out these safe experiments, and of course, share your findings with fellow enthusiasts. Learning from the past can, well, truly transform the way we live, explore, and survive today.